Hi everyone, and welcome to the Qualitative Analysis module. For the next 2 weeks, you'll be learning about qualitative analysis, reading Miriam and Tisdale Chapter 8, and completing your design presentation, which is Step 1D of the 123 project. And finally, in the second week, week 10, you'll be reviewing everyone's design presentations and providing feedback to one of them. So let's get started. You know, I like to start with this visual of our course and kind of give you an idea of where I see us. We're starting the second half of the semester, and from this point on, we're going to really be bringing together everything we've read, all of the weekly work, all of the ideas you've been generating and ideas floating around out there and in our heads, bringing everything to bear on step 1D of the 123 project, and that's the design presentation. So really from this point on, it's really important to keep your focus on how can you use everything we've read and talked about to make your project as strong as it can be. So this chapter on data analysis is similar to the chapter on doing interviews in that it's very broad. So I'm hoping maybe I can steer you into a couple of different options for data analysis for our project. So let's just look at what is analysis in the first place. And our authors borrow from Flick's 2014 definition that data analysis is about the process of classification and interpretation. You need to somehow classify and label the data and then interpret it in some way through your theoretical lens. And the two methods that maybe I can steer you into, maybe this will work for you, but again, I don't want to discount another method you may want to follow based on your project. But the first one was called the constant comparative, and that draws from Glaser and Strauss's 1967 work on grounded theory. But I'm thinking the constant comparative for our project might be a great way to analyze your data if you're doing more than one open-ended interview, and you could compare between the different interviews, you know, a theme or a category or an idea. It could be perhaps power or tension or something else between the different participants that engage with your text and you're interviewing them. So that might work if you're doing more than one interview. Some of you may only do one interview, but maybe you're going to do some critical discourse analysis. So the second method that might work for you, and this really isn't in the book, I'm calling it the one category or one theme. So in the different data you collect, your text or an artifact, maybe an observation, your one interview, can you come up with one category or theme, I'm kind of using those interchangeably, that you see across all of the data? And again, that could be something like the way the text positions certain readers, or the way the language in the text, the ideology is working in the language of the text, and you can connect that to the interview and other things. So kind of one idea or theme or category that crosses all of your data. So those two methods for analysis there might work for you if that makes sense. And then Miriam and Tisdale talk about this qualitative analysis being an emergent design. And here I would say comparing it to doing the scientific method in a quantitative study where you would be following the scientific method, very clear prescribed steps. With qualitative analysis, especially the work we're doing, it's very emergent, meaning we're not sure what our next step might be. We're simultaneously collecting data and then kind of analyzing it, you know, if we're thinking about a theme or a category at the same time. So that's an emergent design. And simply put, the goal of analysis is to answer the research questions. So we do this by categorizing and interpreting our data, right? We're making sense of our findings. We're interpreting them, in our case, through the socio-cultural lens. And we need to maintain our focus on answering the research questions, because as researchers we always need to make decisions about data that's not relevant, that we're not going to include, and other data that we are going to include. And speaking of research questions, you'll need to have at least one research question for your project. So I've put together some question stems or question frames here for you to help get you started. You're welcome to take them and change them up to make them work for you. Your main research question should be something along the lines of the first bullet here. How is the name of your literacy practice experienced by the label for your participants, right? Some form of that question. If you wanted to add another question in there, you could do something like the second bullet. What can we learn from studying the name of the literacy practice through the sociocultural lens? And then finally, if you wanted another question, and remember, questions will help provide you some structure. So if you're the kind of person that wants a little bit more structure, something more to write about, if that's your style, if you want to add a third question, you could have a question along the lines of the third bullet: what are the implications for adult learning? And if you'll notice here, these questions kind of all touch on something different. So the first question is touching on the phenomenon of interest that we're studying, right? The phenomenon itself, the literacy practice. The second question brings in our theoretical lens, and the third question talks about implications. So if you wanted to go in a different direction than what I've got written here, just make sure that you have at least one question and that it's focused on the literacy practice. But if you are looking for ideas for another question, you could make it about the theoretical lens or about implications for adult learning. Let's switch gears here and talk about the research design presentation, step 1D. And this step will bring in information from all of the previous steps and then add a few things. And really what you want to do is tell us what you're researching and how you're researching it. So you would want to make sure you have at least the basic parts listed here on this slide. And what is new and getting added in there would be things like what data will you be collecting and how will you be analyzing your data, a research question, and a little bit about the purpose of your study. The purpose of your study is to learn about the experiences of your literacy practice. I wanted to touch base briefly on the presentation format itself, and all of this is in the syllabus and in the assignment upload area. We are going to be using VoiceThread again. I chose that because I wanted to have presentations that peers could engage with and then provide feedback to, and just a different format than writing, a different kind of text, which kind of goes along with the theme of our class. So I'm asking for you to have a minimum of 3 slides in your presentation. Your introduction slide that would contain your name and the working title of your project, a couple of body slides, a minimum of one, and then at the end, put a feedback slide, because that's the slide that peers will go to put their comment on there for feedback. So a minimum of 3. I'm thinking if you had a couple of body slides, you might have, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7. The length, it's a little bit hard to be prescriptive here. I'm thinking if you were doing it live for us, it would be maybe 10 to 15 minutes long, just so you kind of have an idea of what I'm looking for. And just briefly, a little bit about the peer feedback. And again, this will be in the assignment upload area. I'm using a format called PQS for praise, questions, and suggestions. And I'm asking you to provide feedback to a peer on the content of their presentation, on what they're saying, rather than the delivery of their presentation, the layout of their slides. We're looking at this as scholarly academics, and we're listening for specific information about a study design. So hold back your feedback about, colors and graphics and anything else. It's not about the delivery, but about the content itself. A little bit about the next 2 weeks. It's mostly independent work. Week 9, you will be preparing and submitting your design presentations, and then the following week you will be revisiting the presentation gallery and VoiceThread and providing PQS feedback to a classmate. Please pick someone who doesn't already have feedback. I want to make sure everyone gets feedback from at least one peer. You're welcome to provide feedback to more than one person, but a minimum of one person, and please find someone who doesn't already have feedback. So to wrap things up, be sure to carefully read the chapter, and you may need to revisit the chapter. You might also want to go back and review any of the other readings we've done, whether it's the chapter about doing interviews or any of the other studies we've done, if they were especially appealing to you or had a connection to your work. You'll be creating your design presentations, providing your PQS feedback, and independently working on getting your interviews done, collecting any other data, really pulling in that step 2 of the 1, 2, 3 project. And then finally, importantly, I am more than happy and I am available if you would like to do a one-on-one consultation. I'm up here in Northern Virginia, so we would use Zoom or we could just talk on the phone. I really enjoy hearing about your project. I'd be more than happy to hear about yours or hear where you might be stuck and maybe try to get you nudged in one direction or another. So please text me, message me on Canvas, email me if you'd like to set up a one-on-one consultation. That sounds formal. If you just want to talk, I'm usually available after 3 p.m. on weekdays. I'm teleworking. I'm usually around. I'm around on the weekends as well, so we can work something out.